Is the screen visible?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Yes.
So, strategic business leader, what exactly are we looking at from the paper's perspective? Okay, the pass rates, if you can see, fairly around 50, 52, 53 now, ever since they have introduced this pre-scene material, 52 to 53%. That's how the pass rates have been. The recent pass rates, again, around the same area. So I think somewhere around, I think March 24 is when they started introducing this pre-scene material because there's been only 3 or 4 attempts so far in terms of your pre-scene. So March 24 they introduced, it was applied for on June, I think. So June, September, December, 4 or 5 attempts probably from where we have pre-scene materials. Okay. So the pass rates have gone up a little bit, 52, 53%. That's really how the thing has been ever since with SBL. So yes, that's a good thing because now students are getting more time to sort of, look into the scenario, look into what information is there. So it's very important first thing that 2 weeks before, when you get your exam scenario, the exam, like pre-scene material, we would also be discussing about that in class as well. Like, sort of trying to understand what sort of possible questions they can ask you depending upon what they have given us in terms of information. We do that every class. So 70 to 75% of the information we will be sitting down together trying to analyze what possible questions could be there on the exam day. We'll be trying to sort of, have a structuring in our mind. But it's your responsibility that you go through this scenario so well that you remember every sort of information that's there. All important information that's given in this pre-scene, they have to be at the back of your head when you're writing the exam so that you don't take too long to go back and refer to what area the question is referring to. So for example, let's say they have given you 5 exhibits as pre-scene. These 5 exhibits need to be pasted in your head. They have to be there. You must know that, okay, look, exhibit 3 talks about risk management, exhibit 5 talks about this. In risk management, line number 3 talks about maybe the competition that this company has. Exhibit 5 talks about sustainability. The company has not been doing well in sustainability. They have to make their product sustainable, whatever it is. These things have to be there in your head. So when you see the question, you must understand that, okay, look, this part, they're talking about this exhibit. Getting my point? So be very well understood, be very well versed with the pre-scene that's given to you. And once you're able to do that, that's going to save a significant amount of time. Plus, that will also help you articulate your answers better. Sometimes what happens, they would ask you questions specifically to exhibit. Like if there are 5 questions in SBL exam, 3 questions at least will be relating to particular exhibits, which means that let's say they have given you a question on sustainability. The information relating to sustainability will be there in, let's say, exhibit 5. Entire exhibit 5 will talk about sustainability only. So of course, in those cases, it becomes easier. So you refer to only one exhibit and write the answer. But then sometimes they would refer to, certain other areas of questioning where you may have to get information from multiple exhibits. In that case, it becomes a little difficult for students because usually what happens, one is used to looking at one particular source of information and then, articulate all of the information from there, paste it to the scenario, then write their reviews. But with multiple reference, the point is the mind is not able to articulate what happens. So how do you avoid that thing? Be very used to the pre-scene material. So when you look at one of the questions, you understand that, okay, look, some information about this, maybe exhibit 2, some information about the second part of this question, maybe 3 and 4 combined together, something like that. These things should be at the back of your head. Okay. So pre-scene material, 2 weeks before when they arrive, it's your responsibility to wake up every day and just read it and understand that this information is there. And then we will discuss in class that, okay, look, from the basis, from the background of what's given, I feel like these are the things that they might ask you on the exam day. For turn shows limited, right? In the class, we had discussed at least 6 different possibilities of questions that they could ask. We got 4 of them. So 4 questions were almost, if not 100%, 70 to 80%, they were very much related to what we had discussed in class. So the students were happy because they were prepared. Not prepared because I discussed this in class, but because they had a fair understanding that these are the areas they can test. So they were prepared physically to write, to cite the information from the exhibit and then write the answer. So that's how we do it with the pre-seen thing right now. Okay. Remember, SBL is a different exam, as I said. So it has one whole integrated case study. There will be a pre-scene, about 70-75% will be given to you 2 weeks prior to the exam. New exhibits will be exposed to you on the exam day. The knowledge of topics is tested less. Hence the reason not to refer as much to your revision kits and to your study texts. Application skill is important. How do you apply? If they're asking you about an issue in the exam question for SBL, the first and foremost important thing is to understand that you have to cite the problems with reference to the scenario. Major problems that a student faces when it comes to SBL is when they write their answers, they write generic points. For example, I'll tell you that, okay, look, this company is suffering from some risk management issues. You will say that, okay, this the risk management issue, you cite a generic issue in the sense something that is not related to the company. You can't do that in SBL. You can't formulate answers out of your mind. You have to write something that's related to the scenario. So look for traces in the exhibits, information in the exhibits that sort of hint at risk management issues that the company might have. Cite that problem and then write your answers. Okay. Now we would be studying a little bit about models, but the emphasis on models are only up to the extent that they help you structure an answer. That's it. Nothing more than that. If you are able to structure an answer without citing a model and your answer is just as relevant, there's no problem with it. Absolutely no problem with it. There is nowhere the examiner mentions that you are supposed to mandatorily use the models. But when you look into your revision kits, they would say that, okay, look, I'm using the PESTEL model here, I'm using the five forces model here, and I'm using this to sort of structure my answer. That sort of gives the student the idea that they also always have to be bound to use a model. No, you're not. So you can use anything, any kind of structuring you want for your answers, but as long as it makes sense, you are good to go. There's no problem with it. Okay. The major reason why a lot of people pass these papers is because 50% of this paper is common sense. Okay. I have found that people who are used to mugging up answers, people who are used to sort of, what do you say, regurgitating material, like they read the stuff, keep reading it again and again till it's there at the back of their head, they find it difficult to pass this paper. Whereas people who just look at it from a commonsensical perspective, common sense in the sense that, okay, look, I'm a normal person, I'm not an accountant, I'm a normal person, I'm looking at this problem from a very normal basis, that person is going to pass this paper with flying colors because they don't overthink. Overthinking is the bigger problem in this paper. So try not to overthink your answers. And remember, you are not writing this paper from the perspective of an accountant. So don't run into directly talking about profits, profit margins, competitive landscape, all of these things. No, talk a little bit about company, how the company is responsible to shareholders, how the company has to be accountable to shareholders, how the company must keep its stakeholders satisfied. Okay, all of those things have to be there. You are so used to thinking like an accountant, like mostly what happens in SBL exams, people directly run into writing about profits, gross profits, net profit margins, shares, value of my shares. Try avoiding it. Write it from the perspective of a leader, strategic business leader. You are writing the report from the perspective of a leader. You are a CFO or a CEO, or you are a management consultant writing a report to the board of directors. That is essentially the role you will be assuming in an exam. So it's important you start thinking from that perspective and stop thinking like a student. Specifically, stop thinking like an accountant, because that's where these professional skills come into existence. Okay. Now, these professional skills, exactly what they are, what they talk about, that will be much better off understood when we are trying to do questions. Each question in the SBL exam will tell you what professional skill they are testing you on. So, question one will be there. They might be testing you on evaluation skills. How well are you evaluate the problem? Evaluation is looking into pros and cons. Then there might be skepticism. Okay. Now, I'm pretty sure since both of you have been working in Big 4 audit firms, I believe. If you are working in audit, or for that matter, any other division, to a certain extent, your job will be involved with exercising skepticism. Yeah. So one of
Right.
those questions will be there, and they will be testing you on skepticism, where you will have to be questioning what's given in the scenario. So they would give you a similar exhibit, maybe something about some major director's comment on an issue. And you will have to evaluate the issue, and then you may also have to be skeptical about the issue, about the views that this person has given. So all of those things you would have to be doing in terms of professional skills. We will be discussing them in much more detail tomorrow. I don't want to dive into it right now. I'm just saying that about 20% of the people, which means 20 marks, will be professional skills. These are fairly easy to get. Fairly easy to get. Do the right formats, have the right kind of questioning tone. So if it's skepticism, have a questioning tone in your answer. If it's evaluation, write about the good and the bad aspects of what they are talking about in the question. So all you have to do is proper follow the proper format and have the right kind of tone in your answer, and you would be fairly able to get 15 marks of these 20 marks easily. Okay, I've seen people get at least 15. Okay, 15 is doable. You can get the 15 marks, it's easy. And if you're really good at it, then probably I'm looking at 17 marks out of 20. Okay, it's fairly easy to get 17 marks. Well, I don't expect everybody to get 17 marks, but 15 marks is fairly easy to get. Do the right formatting, have the right tone, you already have the 12 marks. And in few of the questions, you'll of course, have that confidence that, okay, I can write this answer really well. They will be getting full professional marks. So once that is there, 15 marks is doable, is very doable. So yes, professional skills, these marks are just given away to you. Once you are able to get all of these marks, you can fetch all of these marks without even writing something relevant. Okay. So if you have the right questioning tone, but you're asking the wrong questions, but still professional skills marks will be given to you. Okay. So 15 marks is doable, I will say, out of 20. And the rest sort of depends upon how well you're able to articulate the question. Okay. So far, so good. Any doubts?
Yeah, so one question, just curious. Will I and Kavya also be getting the same exhibit?
The same pre-scene, you mean? Yes, everybody gets the
Yes.
same pre-scene. Yeah,
Okay,
everybody
so
gets the
one week prior, I mean, once we get, can
same
we like
prior.
debrief on that?
Yes, yes, we will have it. Yes, that's the
Okay.
major part of this paper.
Yes, yes,
We'll
that's what.
definitely have it.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes, that will help.
So 2 weeks prior, the exhibit, the
Pre-scene.
pre-scene will be given to you.
Right.
And we will be discussing about that. Yes, 100%. Yeah.
Yes.
So
Okay.
we will be trying to understand what possible questions or areas of questions they can ask you.
Hmm.
So far we have been able to, I mean, like 40 to 50% of the paper we have been able to guess. But let's see, it can always change. We never know what the examiner is going to ask you, right?
Hmm.
So
Hmm. Hmm.
we just try and sort of, from my experience of, like understanding how the test thinks, or for that matter, any other tutor who is there, we all try to sort of understand, well, maybe these are the areas they are going to be testing you on. So what SBL
Hmm.
is, it's very practical. So the practical problems that exist in corporates right now, for example, problems relating to sustainability is there, corporate crisis is there, corporate governance is there. So these are some of those areas that they frequently test you on, because this is very much practical in terms of what's happening in real business life scenario. So increasingly, I have seen that questions on sustainability have been tested, because sustainability is something that's really been taking up. And if you have read about this, IFRS is the first accounting body. So essentially, ACCA is the first accounting body that has come up with the two official standards relating to sustainability, S1 and S2. And these are probably going to be a mandate, corporate governance rule soon. We'll be discussing a little bit on that as well. So in fact, about 3 weeks ago, ACC had an event in India. I'd been there. I met the CEO as well. I had the chance to meet her, in fact. So we had a brief discussion on this, and she says that, this is going to be a mandate. So once it becomes a mandate, IFRS S1 and S2 will officially be a part of your financial reporting exams from that point onwards. So that's a major thing, by the way. So, like when you have a new standard coming in, that's a major thing. That's once in a blue moon sort of thing that happens. So I think the last time it happened was for IFRS 15 revenue, when they closed down two other standards and got IFRS 15. So yes, so these are important, areas that they are looking at currently. So yes, sustainability is something that's really been taking up a lot of time and attention at the top levels right now. So that those are also, frequently tested in the exams. Yeah. So that's there. So this is an examiner's report debrief. So after every, not every quarter actually, so about every 2, 3 quarters, they would, like give you an examiner's report debrief. And there they would essentially be talking about what sort of problems, the questions, in terms of performance, what are the problems the examiner is seeing in terms of students, answers. Okay. They sort of give you an understanding that, okay, look, these are the areas we feel like the students should improve. These are mostly addressed to faculties. We have meetings for that. So I've just tried to the best of my knowledge, I've tried to just put it forward out there, the problems, the common problems that examiners, people who check your papers, have talked about from students' perspective. Okay, like what exactly are the areas and why are students lagging behind? Why are they losing marks? They've given some information about it. So what are those areas? Let's have a look. Okay, the first thing is your answers not linked with exhibits. Okay, this is more common than you think. This is more common than you think. um, People are not used to writing a paper like SBL. Okay, every other paper that's there. So if you're talking about papers in your professionals, there's SBR, there's SBL. Two of the other papers that you have to choose as optionals. AAA is there, AFM is there, APM, and some other subject. Okay, ATX. Yeah. None of the other professional papers are like SBL. SBL is completely different. Okay. SBL is a full on case study. Everything else sort of tests you on knowledge. Okay. What happens here is you have a situation, you have to analyze the situation, and then probably you might be required to give them some solutions. Usually, solutions are not needed, they don't ask you to give any solutions, but they want you to understand what the problem is and sort of debrief the problem for the board of directors. So, for example, let's say your company is going through a period of loss. Your thing as a management consultant is to write a report to the board of directors citing the issues why you are having a loss. Okay. So for that, you need to completely understand the scenario. You have to understand why the company is making a loss. Are we making products that are not aligned with customers' expectations? Are we not able to manage our cash flows? Are we not doing well in terms of, supplier contracts? All of this information will be there in the exhibit. It's up to you to find this information. You can't just go out and write something irrelevant or something out of your mind which you feel like could be a problem in making profits. For example, I can just write, well, probably because our costs are very high. So I'm making a speculative statement. A speculative statement means what? I'm speculating that, okay, this could be a problem, but is that actually a problem with this company? It could not be. Okay. So speculation is something that is the major problem that we have to look into when we are writing our answers. You cannot speculate a point. If that is not a problem for the company, it can't be a part of your answer. So if they have asked you about a company making losses, it's your responsibility to read the exhibit, find the points which could be linked to your answer. Okay. Only points from the exhibits, only information that's relevant. Okay. Can't have a point that is not there in the scenario just because I feel like it's there. Uh, I had a student, I'm forgetting his name, he was from Indonesia, and he had this problem with speculation a lot. Okay. He would speculate all the points. Okay. He would be like, okay, look, this company is having a profit. He'll start writing the answers. Okay, this company is having a loss, probably because they have not been able to manage their expenses well. Who told you? Did the scenario tell you? Did the scenario tell you? So he was having a lot of problems with it. So I just asked him to follow one, like point when he's writing all the answers. I just asked him, just ask yourself this question: where did you get this point? Is it there in any of the exhibit? If the answer is no, that answer does not belong in your answer sheet. Okay. So don't have anything that is not there in your exhibit. Don't have anything at all. Okay. So all the answers need to be linked with the exhibits. No such answer should be there that is not there. Okay. No such point needs to be there on the answer sheet. That's not related. It's very important. It's much more important that you understand. That's why I've been specifying this point. I always do that in every class. So it's very important to avoid speculations, speculative answers in your answer sheet. Okay. So how do I have a solution for it? The solution is that Start your paragraph with a statement of fact, copy paste that from the exhibit. So if I'm talking about losses, let's say they have mentioned somewhere that, we are probably having losses because procurement has been very much expensive for me. Why is procurement expensive for me? Because a lot of my suppliers have cancelled my contracts. Then you dive deeper into the solution. You're like, okay, look, I'm incurring a lot of costs in terms of procurement. Why am I doing that? Probably because suppliers have cancelled my contracts. Now, why have the suppliers cancelled my contracts? So, as in when you read, you will find a solution. Then you will pick that up. You will pick that point from the exhibit. You'll say, okay, look, suppliers have cancelled my contracts. That's why I'm having more costs. This is a reason why my profit has been driving down. Then you will say that this is happening probably because we are not able to pay our suppliers on time. Simple. That's it. You get 2 marks for this point. One statement of fact copied directly from the exhibit combined with combined with your analysis of the answer. That is essentially what it takes to get you 2 marks. Okay. That's how you're supposed to write your answers in SBL. Pick a point of fact, a statement of fact from the scenario that's related to your answer. Paste it in your answer script. Yes, you can directly just copy paste that from your answer script. Then build on that answer using your own words, using your own statements. Okay. Explain that reason or the impact of this point on your answer. Make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Again, if you are a student who's just copy pasting material, not writing their comments, not explaining why this point is important, how is that relevant to your answer, you won't get any marks. Okay. Both the things have to be there. A statement of fact from the exhibit combined with the reason or impact it is having on the company and how is that related to the answer you're trying to write. So that's very much important. Okay. So keep this point in mind. We will be using this when we start drafting. The very first question that I'll be doing, I will tell you exactly how I can copy paste, how I will be writing the papers, how I'll be writing the answers. I know this sounds a little difficult right now, but once you see me doing it, you will see that, okay, this is fairly easy. It's not that difficult. So it's not a problem, but just have this in the back of your head. The reason why I want you to do this is because I want you to start thinking differently about this paper because it's necessary. Okay. So you have to have that thought process in your mind. And considering you just did SBR, you are you are sort of used to thinking in a different way. So what I want you to do is just come out of it and start thinking about it from the perspective of SBL exam now. That's the reason I'm spending some time today trying to tell you exactly what you're expected to do and sort of prepare your mind, in that way when you're looking at this. Okay. And always have that common sense intact. Okay. Very important. Next. Overspending time on a particular question, mostly normally the question one, which is a time trap. This is a very common problem which the examiner has cited. Now, usually what happens for a well-written point, you will get 2 marks in the exam for a well-written point. So if something is worth 16 marks, how many points am I supposed to write? Roughly around 7 to 8 well-written points. For every point, the examiner will give you 2 marks. So how will they give you 2 marks? One thing from the one statement of fact from the exhibit combined with your answer, your explanation, you get 2 marks. Okay. So with 16 marks, 7 to 8 points, I'll have to make. Simple. Common observation in the exam is the question one usually in the exams, in most SBL exams, question one is usually a question which is a longer question, which means it will have around 20-25 marks combined with professional skills. Okay. So what essentially happens is students tend to overspend time on this question. Sometimes we also observe that they have written more points than what is necessary. So let's say if this question is worth 20 marks, I'm supposed to write 10 points, right? 10 well written points. That's it. Sometimes we see people have written 13 points. I don't know why they do it. They feel like, this question is so important that they can get all the marks. But that's a time trap. Okay. You write 10 points. Let's say one or two of them are incorrect as well. You still manage to get around 16 to 17. You can't get 20 on 20 on each. Okay. You can't get 20 on 20 on any of the questions. It's very difficult to convince the examiner to give you full marks on anything. So that's very difficult because if you even look at the SBL's top marks, I think 85, 86, that's the top marks, the world rank holders, they score around 85, 86. Very rarely it has gone to 90. And that is probably because the person who's writing is already an experienced accountant. He's been doing that work for 20 25 years, just writing for the sake of writing the paper. So in those cases, yes, exceptional answers, they get to 90. So it's fine. 20 marks, 10 points. That's it. Maybe one or two of them will be incorrect. It's fine. Not a problem. If you're able to find good 10 points, you're fairly going to be getting around 15, 16 marks. And that's essentially what we are expecting. Few students I've seen, they would go up, write three more extra points, thinking that, okay, look, if one or two of them get incorrect, I'll be getting points on the other. Why bother? Why are you even bothered about it? You've written 10 points. Move on to the next question. There's a plenty of other marks from where you will be fetching it. This is a competitive exam. Certain types, certain parts of this test are going to be very difficult. Okay. There could be a question worth 8, 10 marks. You will have no idea about how to do it. Okay. There's always at least one question in an SBL exam where you're like, it's going through the roof. Okay. You don't know what to do. Even for faculties like us, we will also have to think that, okay, look, how do I really structure this question? What exactly is it asking me? So those questions will be there. Okay. So essentially, do not overspend on a particular question just because you feel like you can write a lot on it. The maximum mark is still 20. They'll not, if you write 15 points, 13 points, they're not going to give you more than 20 marks. And nobody really scores full 20 on 20. So 10 points, that is roughly going to be placing you within 15 to 17 marks if you have good 10 points. That's enough. Move on to the next time. Move on to the next question, you know. So a common thing is question one is a time trap. I will be going through this again before the exam so that you don't forget. But remember, question one is a time trap. You tend to overspend a lot on question one, which is really unadvisable, because if you want to pass this paper, you have to attempt the full paper. And that's the reason I asked you when I started this class about your exam experience. And the first thing that came out both of your mouths is that you haven't been able to manage your time.
Yeah.
This is going to happen again. This is going to happen again. So do not overspend on question one. It's fine. It's fine. Just move on. Learn to move on. Yeah. We have to learn to move on. So that's there. So very much important. Question one is a time trap. Do not be there for a long time. Move on to question two. Write the other questions. Okay. Then rigorous focus on time management. How will that happen? Practice. Leave the question incomplete and move on to the next question as soon as the time is up. So we will be following a proper time schedule. For every mark, we will be having a certain amount of time. So let's say I'm giving you, so for every mark, let's say you get 1 minute. Okay. So for 10 minutes, you get 10 marks. 10 minutes, you get 10 marks. Yes. Okay. So let's say 10 minutes are gone and I have only written 8 points. Move on. It's fine. Move on. Not a problem. Don't write the next 2 points. It's fine. Not a problem. Just move on. Write down the next one. Cover as much as you can. That's the major thing that you have to do. If in the end you have some time, which is very unlikely, if you do, come back and maybe write one more 2 points on the same questions we have blanked out. Okay, it's fine. But yes, as soon as the time is up, move on. There is no need to overspend on any question at all. Very important from a time management perspective. We will be addressing these issues as and when we do more questions. So that's fine. Next is this is something which is very much relevant to all ACCA papers, by the way. I say it to every other student who's taking the papers. Always pick the low-hanging fruit first. Start with the easier question. If the first question itself is very difficult, move on to the next one. Try dealing with it later. Okay. About 50% of the paper is super easy. Common-sensical questions, they can be answered with common sense itself. Professional skills marks, 20 marks given to you. Do the right format, have the common-sensical thing intact. You will pass this paper. It's not difficult. Okay. And keep the difficult questions to the last. Difficult questions as in those one or two questions, mostly one question that will go through the roof. No idea on how to do it. That case, just think about it at the end. Okay. That question should not take up your time in the middle of the exam. So pick the low hanging fruits first, write the easier questions first. If a question seems difficult to answer, leave some space, move on. Okay. Learn to move on. Next. About 50% questions are common sense that I have already mentioned. So bookish theoretical students struggle a little bit with these questions, but that's the reason I said don't mug up anything from the book. Don't read the book, in fact. If you want to do that, do it from a skimming perspective. Skimming perspective means what? Just read for the purpose of information. That's it, not for the purpose of memorization. What you need to understand, what you need to remember in terms of information, that I'll give it to you in class. Okay. Nothing apart from that needs to be remembered as such. You want to refer to a textbook, you want to have more confidence, you feel like, no, if I have not seen the book, I'm not feeling confident, go ahead, read it. But remember, when you're doing the revision kit or the textbook, you don't have to be at par with what the examiner is writing or expecting you to write. From the exam's perspective, you are taking it under a time constraint, so your answers will never match the examiner's answers. Remember that. Okay, 30 to 40% of your answers, if they're matching, good to go. Next, not understanding the requirement correctly. This is more common than I have thought. Even before the examiner, I would make the same comment. Sometimes students don't understand what the question is asking. For that, read the question carefully, do more practice. It will automatically set things right. Okay. Once you do 2, 3, 4 questions, you sort of have an understanding that, okay, this is how the examiner is structuring the questions. This is how they want me to write the answers. Okay. So that thing will uh, it will be taken care of with the help of your practice. Okay. Poor technical knowledge. Now, this is where it comes to the part where you have to remember certain information. There are top 25 topics, well, top 25, 27 topics that are there, um, as in subject matters that we have to talk about. We would be doing that over the course of this entire 10 weeks. We will master those 25 topics first, and then we will move on to the next one. It's there on my Google Drive as well. I can send that to you, or else, I'll send the PDFs as and when we discuss about that. So this is for the online people, so that's why I've done that. So it's fine. So yes, poor technical knowledge, that will be taken care of when you read through this 25 topics. Nothing difficult as such. Okay. Next is insufficient number of points according to marks. I told you a well-written point is worth 2 marks. Okay. A well-written point talks about what? It talks about one, so let's say one issue. It will talk about one issue. Part of that thing will be taken up from the scenario. So info from the scenario combined with your analysis. Okay. Both of these things will give you 2 marks. A well-explained point will give you 2 marks. The total number of marks for each question, they have to be divided by 2. That's essentially the number of points you must have. Okay. As long as you have those number of points, you are writing enough, you have enough depth in your answer, that's there, and you will be getting the marks accordingly for it. So we have seen that questions worth 10 marks, students have 8 points. We have seen question worth 20 marks, also 8 points. Makes no sense. Question worth 10, 20 marks needs to have at least 10 points. Okay. So try and getting those points from the scenario. Sometimes you don't have those many amount of points. In that case, it's fine. If you're not able to find anything, you can't, forcibly write a speculative answer again. Avoid speculation. Okay. If you write a speculative answer, they will cut your professional marks. So never write speculative answers. Okay. So let's say, okay, I'll give you an example. Let's say there's a question worth 20 marks. You need to write how many points? 10, right? You
Yes.
have, let's say, gotten 8 points. Now you are forcibly producing another point because you want a mark. The point is you will not get that mark. Okay. Apart from that, they will cut off at least one of your professional marks. Maybe 1.5 of your professional marks will be gone. Why? Because you made a speculative point. The examiner does not like speculative point. Okay. Don't write something that's not there in the scenario. Okay. If you are not getting the points, fine. Out of 10, you have written 8. Be happy with it. Move on. Okay. So I think it's better. Now, listen to this very carefully. It's better to write insufficient number of points than to write speculative points. Okay. So it's fine. You're not getting all the 10, write 8, move on. It's okay. Maybe actually total 8 points are there. So you'll be getting better marks. It's not a problem. But if, well, let's say 2 or 3 other points could have been made, but you're not able to think about it from the exams, pressure conditions, it's fine. 8 points, move on, no speculation. Lastly, 2 or 3 mocks fully written on the CBE that will help you get used to the platform, how you're supposed to structure your answer, how you're supposed to look at the question, how to set the, like question on one side of the system and then write answers on the other side. We'll do that when we are doing the practice sessions. So a lot of them do not practice on the platform. They just do it in their word pads and everything. That's not enough. It's difficult because you have to be faster on the CBA platform. For that, getting used to the platform is necessary. So be used to the platform, use the bullet points, whatever it is that's required. And yeah, that is essential because students usually what they do, they practice on WordPad. Okay. The CBE platform is not WordPad. It's something that resembles a WordPad. Not WordPad, sorry, Microsoft Word. Resembles Microsoft Word, but it's not Microsoft Word. Sometimes few of the functionalities do not work. Same happens with Excel as well. Okay. People do a lot of practice on Excel, but few of the stuff in Excel does not that works on Excel does not really work on the CBE platform. Okay. So when you are practicing on the platform, you come across these issues. So you prepare yourself accordingly. So it's not completely different to you on the exam day. So practicing at least, well, after 10, 7 to 8, do at least 5 in the practice platform. Then you should be good to go. Okay. Weak typing and formatting skills. Formatting skills, of course, that you'll have to learn. There are specific formats that you need to have in the back of your mind that you'll be using when you're writing your answers to get the professional marks. Presentation skills, you get 5 marks I think 4 marks for presentation skills. Those 4 marks can be fully gotten 4 out of 4 if you're doing the formats and layouts correctly. So easy to get those marks at least. So presentation skills, formats and everything, those are important. Weak typing, I don't think that's probably a concern with you guys. So I'll just let it go. So formatting, yes, pay attention to it. Little bit of typos, fine. Spelling errors, little bit of that, it's okay. Like every question, 1 or 2 typos are there. It's fine. So let's say if you're writing the word any word for that matter, let's say asset, and you just leave it like this, okay, it's fine, but try avoiding it as much as you can. Okay, don't have too many mistakes to the extent that the examiner is having a problem understanding what your statement means. Okay, few words here and there, it's fine. Not all of that needs to be corrected, but try to write like from a professional's perspective. So avoid having spelling errors, avoid having excessive typos. That's it. Okay. So your typing will improve as and when you practice a lot on the platform. I've seen that happen to a lot of students. So once that is there, it should be fine. Oh, somebody just joined right now. Okay. So that's essentially how SBL is as a paper. These are all the formats, by the way, that you have to know. Report, briefing paper. I'll be sharing this with you. It's not a problem. I'll be sharing a separate PDF for this. So report, briefing paper, briefing note, memo, mostly these are tested. Section of a report, tested. Email, yes. Presentation slides, for sure. Letter or report, one of the others could be there. Slightly different formats. Press or website release, I think that was tested back in 2020. They haven't really tested this one again, but I can't trust the examiner, so we will be discussing all of these formats. Project initiation document, I think last to last time, probably it was tested, something like that. Weakness recommendation, this is very common as well. So this one, this email, for sure, very important. What else? Yeah, pretty much that's it. So these are all the areas that will be that you have to understand from the perspective of making formats. Okay. What else is there? 1 second. Okay. Yeah. So that's the part. I have a few formats here. This I'll be sending it over to you differently. It's fine. Professional skills. We will be discussing about this tomorrow. Okay. Now, yeah, one more thing to talk about. Okay. The exam technique. Yeah. Now you have 3 hours. I'll be discussing this again before the exam, so it's not a problem. Just trying to give you a fair idea about this paper. That's why. Okay. The total exam time is 3 hours 15 minutes. Okay, so it's 195 minutes. Suggested reading and planning time is about 15. That's the max I will give you. I would give you more if this was a scenario where you are looking at the pre-scene for the first time, but that's not the case anymore. So you have a drafting time of 180 minutes. So 15 minutes is the maximum amount of time that you can probably use or have it at the back of your head for the purpose of preparing your answers. Okay. An answer drafting time is 180 minutes. Okay. In the first 10 to 15 minutes, when you start the paper, I would like you to, like sort of, I'll say how you can do this. We will be doing this on the platform. So few of the requirements, I'll just try and paste on the scratch pad. I'm pretty sure, there's a scratch pad in the exam that you can use. You can have the major requirements there so that it's there at the back of your head. Remember, you have to be consistently skimming information from multiple exhibits. So you can't have so many tabs open on the exam day. And you have to remember what question you're trying to answer. So easier thing to do is have the scratch pad ready. The scratch pad can be closed and open fairly easily. What I do is I'll just paste the requirement of the question there so that if I forget. So let's say I'm writing strengths and weaknesses, for example. So I'm looking for strengths and I searched for all the strengths first. I've noted it down. Then I forgot, like, was it strength and mitigating factors? Was it strength and weakness? Was it strength and recommendation? I don't remember. So what I can do is, instead of me going back, opening the question again, going to that one particular question, I can just directly refer to the scratch pad what question one was about, and then I can find that it's about strength and weaknesses. Directly move on from there. Easy, just like how we can use the platform to our benefit. Okay. Read the tasks and identify the topics, what they're talking about. Take a quick look at each exhibit and note the exhibit number. So, as I said, about 3, 4 exhibits of the 6 or 7 that they give you in the exam, 3 to 4 exhibits will directly have information, and these will relate to direct questions. So, let's say exhibit 4 about sustainability, you will have one question about sustainability. So, that particular question you will only be referring to exhibit 4. In those cases, what you can do is when you paste the requirements in your scratch pad, the questions, you can just write next to them the exhibit number that you'll be referring to when you write the answer. So sustainability, you can just write, okay, sustainability is exhibit 4. Just refer there so that when you look at the question and start writing the answer, you can have a look at, like, okay, look, this is exhibit 4. I'll just, move on from there. Easy to do that. Decide the sequence of your answers. Easier questions first because that boosts your confidence. And sometimes also this has happened. I've seen that, let's say the first or the second question of the exam is a little difficult. Okay. So you're a little stuck there, but as I have said, move on. Don't do that question. So let's say second question is a little difficult. You moved on from second question, and by the time you're doing the other questions that you're doing well, it is still giving you that confidence that, okay, look, I have done well in the other questions. So that one question is not going to define the status of my exam. So it's fine. And sometimes what happens is, in the midst of doing it, you somehow it strikes you that, okay, look, there is a point, and this point can be written there in that one question where I was struggling. So it also happens sometimes that, like, when your confidence boost is there, you might, you know, in the middle of the exam have this eureka moment where you feel like, okay, look, this point, it can be written there. So you go back and you write it. So instead of losing out all the marks, you get some marks there. So that's the reason I say don't stay stuck on the answer that you don't know. Move on, keep writing. Maybe it will strike you somewhere in the exam that there is a point that I can write there. In that case, you can go back and look into it. Okay. So 1.8 minutes a mark includes the reading respective exhibits in detail. Now, more than half of the scenario you would already have read. So that will give you the advantage. On the exam date, you won't be getting a lot of exhibits. So maybe 2 pages of extra stuff that you have to read. So a 10-mark question should essentially take 18 minutes. This includes scenario reading, format making, and writing the answer of 4 to 5 points. Sounds difficult, but is fairly easy. Okay. Format making is something that will come naturally to you. Scenario reading, half of that, 80% of that will be done. Writing the answer is, yes, that's where the most of the time will be gone. I think a well practiced student will be able to do this within 15 to 17 minutes. Okay. A student who has practiced well will be able to do all of this within 15 to 17 minutes. That's what I have seen. Okay. So if all of this is seemingly too much right now, it's fine. But with practice, you're going to improve. Okay. But I want you to give an overview. You have to understand what essentially you're looking at in this paper. If you're having a time management problem in SBR, SBL is going to be hell. That's why I'm saying let's have the first thing in our mind, time management. Okay.
Yeah.
So keep a very tight track of time. Okay. Keep a very tight track of time. The ability to move to the next question when drafting time is up is very, very crucial. Okay. So make sure that you're able to move on with time. So 15 to 17 minutes is what a good student will be able to do. That should be your target essentially. 18 minutes for a 10-mark question includes everything. Okay. Linking answer with exhibits, already explained to you, that's important. You get 2 marks when you link something from the exhibit with your answer that involves your own set of analysis. You can pick information from pre-seen material in case of information if it's missing from the exhibits and copy paste this information. That's why I say pre-seen has to be at the back of your head, you know, all the time. And pre-seen will of course be there on the exam date as well. So it has to be at the back of your head. You have to be very well versed with that information. If I ask you, look, I want information on sustainability, you'll be like, sir, standard exhibit 2, 3, and 4. These lines, it's there. Has to be that well. Okay. So 80 to 90% of the time we'll be using exhibits, 10 to 20% of the time we'll be using information from pre-seen. Combined together, you'll be producing one answer. Okay. So the following is an advice. You can use it if that is helpful to you. If you are getting a chance from the pre-scene, you can use this information as and when it's required. Okay. So pre-scene will talk about the organization's goals, objectives, its history, values, missions, all of these things they'll talk about. Anytime in an exam question, when you are writing something and you feel like that this can be sort of linked to the organization's values. I'll give you a simple example. Let's say you are a very customer centric company. Your mission, the company's mission is that, let's say you are Amazon. Okay, Amazon is very much customer centric. Okay, you are Amazon, and your mission is that you proud, you sort of show yourself as a company that's very much proud that they're so much customer centric. Okay, so that's like your mission and your vision, that we have to be the most customer centric product based company ever, for example. Okay, so let's say something from the exhibit tells you that you have not been aligning the interests of the consumers in the products you produce. Okay. The current products that you're producing are not aligning with the interests of the consumers. And you are supposed to make this a point in your answer. You're writing to the board of directors. You can write, well, currently the products that the company is producing, they are not in line with what is expected out of our customers. This is directly in line against with what our mission, vision, and values are. Okay, our mission to become the most competitive, to be the most customer centric company in the world is against the current lines of our practice. Okay, so you can include these kind of points. You can try and relate it. Usually these points will be there in your pre-seen material. They will not be there in your exhibits. But when you are writing a point from the exhibit and you find a chance that, okay, this can be linked to something from the pre-seen, please do that, because these are the points that are going to fetch you full marks, because the examiner loves it when you're sort of trying to link information from multiple exhibits, because that sort of shows that you are able to understand the company as a whole. That brings me to the fact that what is the name of this paper? It's Strategic Business Leader. You're writing it from the perspective of a CFO, from a management consultant, from advisory to the board of directors. You have to have everything about the company. You need to understand the in and outs of the company. You can't solely focus on profit making, shareholder value, increasing the share price or the market share. There are so many other things that you need to know about. So don't go running into writing about profits right away. Take your time, understand what essentially the issues are around, and then write your answers. Okay. And sometimes they will also give you financial information or statistics. This information can also be used several times in your answers. For example, let's say you are a company whose mission is to have the highest market share in the industry. Okay. You might be given some statistics which says that your market share has been declining. You can make a simple calculation on a percentage increase or decrease. Then you can comment. Considering our mission or our long-term goal to have the maximum market share, we feel like the current line of business that we are in, the current line of businesses that is currently underperforming, is the result that we are losing out on our market share. And this is not in line with our long-term goals or our vision. Okay. This is you relating information from the exhibit, from the pre-scene, writing one whole point for the view of board of directors. The examiner loves these points. Okay. So again, same point I'll be reiterating here. Start a point with a statement of fact, take it from wherever you want to, either from the exhibit or the pre-scene material, try and link it to the answer, then write your own point. That should give you the marks that you need. Okay. What else? Technical and professional marks that I'll tell you later. This is not important for now. Yeah, answer format. You can prepare a skeleton of the answer before you attempt the question. That's advisable. This is just advice, by the way. Students have different ways of dealing with it. So I will let you decide what you want to do. This is just advice, okay? You can have a skeleton of the answer before you attempt the question, okay? So usually what I do is I just first of all copy paste all the important points from the exhibits. So point number one, um, so like I'm writing about strengths and weaknesses. So strength one, strength two, strength three. Copy paste the information from the requirements first. Then I sit down and structure my answer. That's how I write it. Okay. My first thing is strengths and weaknesses I have to do. I have to write 10 points. So I will let's say I found five strengths and five weaknesses. Not that you will always find five and five. It could be eight and two. It could be five, six and four, whatever it could be, whatever numbers you find. So my first thing is find all the strengths. 5 points, I got all the strengths. 5 points, I got all the weaknesses. Great. I have 10 points now. Now it is up to me how to structure this. So I have already gotten the thing from the exhibit. Now it's my time to draft the answer and write my analogy on these answers. So that's how I do it. So skeleton of the answer, you can prepare it before you start writing the questions. Main headings, subheadings, closure, whatever it is that you want to write. Format and closure you can do first. Then you can find out the headings and subheadings and the points that you would want to make. Then you can try on building up those answers. Okay. Next is again, use the information from the exhibit to start your answer. Usually the first line, if it is possible, get it from the exhibit. That sort of gives the examiner the idea that you're writing a relevant point. Okay. If the first line is not from the scenario, the examiner will sit down and read what point you've written. Versus if it's directly from the scenario, he will know. He will feel like this is a relevant point and you've already gotten your first mark. Okay. 1 second. Okay. Next is adopt a paragraph style of writing, maximum 3-4 lines or sentences. Each CBE platform, a lot of people use bullet points. Now, bullet points are advisable to be used in PowerPoint presentations when you have PPT slides that you have to make. In that case, you can use bullet points. But for most answers that involves report writing, letter writing, give us give a short subheading. So let's say you're writing a recommendation. So you can say recommendation, underline. First recommendation is um, so no 1, 2, and 3 actually. Don't write numbers as well. Your first recommendation is something regarding sustainability. Improve sustainability practices. Sustainability. This is your heading. Then you write about sustainability, 3-4 lines. The next could be about retail chain management. For example, retail chain management. Again, heading, write your points. So these are two different points. Okay. Don't write 1, 2, and 3. Just give subheadings. Then write your points, whatever you want to write. Keep the formatting clean. Leave some space between your answers so that it's easier for the examiner to understand that this is point one, this is point two, this is point three. That's necessary. When you club all of them together, it's difficult for the examiner to sort of find out the separate points. So don't give him that chance to cut off your marks. If you have 2, 3 points combined in one answer, try separating the points, try giving a separate heading for each of them. That will be easier for you to understand. That'll be easier for the examiner to understand that each individual paragraph is a different point. So it's easier for you to fetch marks there. Okay. Look for stress words in the exhibit, significantly, extremely, notably. Use these answers, this information in your answer drafting. That will sort of give you the tone according to which you are expected to write the answers. Significantly means something which is sort of, very much extremely notably. These terms are, weighing down on one aspect of question. Okay. So those aspects need to be understood and you can write on the basis of that. Okay. You can use the tabular format for weakness and recommendation. Simply just draw a table, weakness, recommendation. All the weaknesses here, all the recommendations here. Simply. That is an expected format that you need to do for risks and mitigation factors, weaknesses and recommendations. Okay. Nil or minimum use of models. You want to use a model, fine. You don't want to use a model, fine. But don't over stress on using models. Okay. If you are using a model, it is not necessarily that you will have to follow the entire model. You can follow a part, and the other part will be your explanation, your way of looking at things. Completely fine. Not a problem. Okay. So last part of today, how to tackle out of box questions. As I told you, now this is important. Every exam of SBL will at least have one question that is going to be out of the box. Okay. Those questions are usually difficult to tackle, difficult to understand, difficult to write on. Why? Because they hardly make any sense. Okay. You might feel like there is not enough information. You might feel like there is a little bit of speculation that I have to do. Now, you don't get marks for speculation in the exam. So that becomes a little difficult for you to answer it. Okay. How do you deal with this question? First of all, don't deal with it at all in the first place. Okay. Don't write this question, don't answer this question now. Try writing, doing a good job in all the other questions that you are well aware of. Come to this question at last. Usually, this question won't be anything more than 8 marks to 10 marks. 10 marks is like tops. 8 marks to 10 marks, nothing more than that will be the worth of this question. Okay. You can try and define this question a little bit if something comes to your mind. Defining it is not making a speculative point. You are sort of trying to understand what the examiner is asking. So try and define it a little bit. Look through and maybe search for keywords. There is a search button there on your CBE platform. If you can find some keywords relating to this particular question, then maybe you can search on those keywords, find some important information that's there, maybe try and link them in one way or the other. Sometimes it could be relating to things such as root cause and its impact on the business. Again, few points here and there, search for it if you can find something. Now, this is a question that's difficult to answer. So yes, of course, finding information is also difficult. So these are some of the techniques that you can use. Okay. Try and briefly answer the requirement in a question. Maybe paste some requirements from, see, pasting some requirements is not going to cost you extra marks. Okay. But, writing a speculative point may cause you a loss in terms of professional marks. So you can try and, get some points from the scenario and try elaborate on them, thinking maybe these are related to it. That's the best thing that you can do. Do not use a lot of time for this question. Save those 10, 15 minutes. If you are completely not able to understand what to do with this question, write a little bit, do this searches, maybe find some information from the scenario, paste it there, move on. Rather use those remaining minutes, if you have, to write extra points on other questions where you may have left out 1 or 2 points because of time management. Okay. Those questions where you felt like you could write extra points, but you were like, well, this is worth 20 marks. I've already written 10. There's no need to write extra. Maybe in those 10, 15 minutes, I will say, prefer writing those extra points rather than answering this question. If you have done all of that and then some time is left, then you can just try and use all of these techniques to write that exam. Okay. The most important thing to pass SBL is time management. I can't I can't say how important this is. This is the most important part of it. So practice as much as you can. And remember that there are going to be questions like this where it's going to get difficult for you to answer the requirements. It's just how professional exams are. Every professional exam is going to have at least 1 or 2 questions. Now you're almost as good as an accountant. So there's always going to be few questions where they're going to test you to the very core. Okay. No one can be prepared for these questions. All you can do is you can just, it all depends on your mindset on the day of the exam and how well you have been doing in the other parts of the paper. Sometimes, if a student has done extremely well in all the other areas, the confidence is as such that they are attempting this question from a different perspective. Whereas somebody who is running late on time, is already under exam pressure, will not be able to perform well on these questions. Okay. Either way, it's fine. Either way, be prepared that some of these questions will be there in your exams. It could be in fragmented basis, but altogether, nothing more than 10 marks is going to come. So those 10 marks are a risky area. Yes. But should I leave it blank? No. Do the 2, 3, 4, and 5, fifth point that I told you. Use those analogies. See if you can find something. See if you're able to write something about it, and then move on from there. Okay. But do not overspend on this question. What you are normally spending for each mark, do not overspend that much amount of time on this. Rather, use that leftover time to write extra points if you have left it somewhere. Let's say you have written 8 points somewhere where you're supposed to write 10 points. My advice will be to go for the next 2 points there rather than writing this answer. Okay. Because, anyways, there's a fair chance you may not get anything for this answer, or maybe you will be getting 1.5 marks out of the entire 10. So it's fine. Invest where it matters. Okay. Is it okay? Did I bore you, all of you? This is important to know. So, yeah. Any questions?
No, maybe once we start doing, we'll have questions.
Yes, definitely. That is there. Just, out of curiosity, if you want to ask me anything, it's fine because a lot of these things you will be learning as and when we move along. The reason why I told you all of this today is because, this is a different paper, as I said, and, I want you to have that mindset before you start. Because I usually don't do this for financial reporting because, it's like half of the paper is MCQ, 60% of the paper is MCQ, the other 40 is descriptive. So I don't stress so much on time management and everything. I don't even stretch as much. I used to teach SBR before, but I'm not getting time. So yeah, I also used to stress a lot about this in SBR papers, but not to this extent. The reason I do this is because, I have more people coming down and telling me they have time management problems in SBL than they have in any other paper. So it's very much important that these things need to be tackled with. And the most important thing that we as faculties in professional papers we come across is this thing with SPL that people are not able to still understand how they're supposed to write this paper because they're so used to thinking like an accountant, specifically people who have written skills papers before. With papers like financial reporting, audited assurance, they're so used to thinking like an accountant that they're finding it difficult to come out of that mindset. So in that case, it's better for you. So I usually advise people to go for SBL first so that they can have a fresh set of perspective and then they can start doing SBR and other stuff. But since you've already done SBR, I'm pretty sure you're in that accounting mode till now, thinking about standards, how are numbers differing, going up, going down, all of those things. Those are hardly required in SBL. The maximum financial analysis that you'll probably be doing is calculating percentages. That's all. Maybe some increases and decreases in profits and costs if they give you a table. Sometimes they don't even give you a table. So that's the maximum you will be doing here in SBL. So yes, so don't go running thinking about the question from an accountant's perspective. You are not an accountant. You are now the CFO of a company or a CEO of a company. You have to look at the company from the entire perspective, okay? Just profit, market share does not count. Strengths and weaknesses of the company, how well you're doing with stakeholders, how well you're managing with sustainability, corporate governance, all of those things are very, very much important, okay? So these would be your first thing, the reputation of the company, how well you're doing in terms of, the relationship with your customers, all of these things, they become very important in this paper. So don't go running thinking like an accountant right away. Okay. So that's important. Okay. Any other questions?
And also, will EPSM module help us on this, or do we have to
EPSM
do?
depends really. I mean, like EPSM helps you in what? Understanding professional skills. You'll understand that anyways, as and when you do the questions. It's not mandatory that you'll have to do that, but if you feel like doing it, you can do it. It helps to a certain extent, yes, but it's not like it is going to do a very major difference. The only major difference that's going to happen in SBL is practice and time management. That's going to help make things apart. It's a very simple paper, honestly. So, because people have been studying like an accountant for such a long time, they make it difficult. But it's a very simple paper. As I said, common sense. As long as you have a common sense intact, it's fine. You dive deeper into, like most students, what they do, they dive into deeper analysis right from the very beginning when they see the question. That you need to avoid here, because they're not asking you to analyze anything. Just think from a normal layman's perspective. Sometimes the answer is very simple, but you make it complicated because you've been looking at it differently. So that thing is there. Yeah. So EPSM, yes, if you want to go ahead, go ahead. If you don't want to, it's fine. It's not as much required, I must say. Yeah. I didn't do it when I was a student. I did my EPSM later. So it's not a problem. Yeah. Any other questions?
So we'll have what from 8 o'clock only, right? Every day. The
I
classes.
mean, yes, I was hoping we could have a little later because I'm not an early riser, honestly. So, but I believe this is the right time for you because you'll be having your shifts after you'll be starting to, when does your work start usually? Are you guys working morning?
Actually, we have RTO days. So Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday are our RTOs.
So that means when do you start?
Uh, I
Yes.
think we'll have to leave home by around 9:30 if that's the case. Whenever we go to office, other days we can have it in a different time. That's fine.
Okay, let's just keep it at one time. That'll be better off, I think, for everybody. So I was thinking we can have classes 4 days a week because anyways we'll be completing this really fast. SBL does not take as much time to be completed. So the question practice is essentially what's really important. And I think I will be traveling towards the end of this year because of a family function. So the classes will probably be off for those 1 week, but I will be able to make that up by taking extra classes. I'll be able to do that, so it's not a problem. Saturdays and Sundays we can have extra classes. Point is, it's still not required. In 4 weeks of time, we'll be very much able to complete a lot of the portions, so it's not a problem. Even with 2 hours of classes, so it's going to be fine. So I was hoping Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. We can have classes from 8 to 10. Usually, I would prefer taking 2.5 hours of classes, but since you guys start at 9:30, do you have any other time that could be suitable? Like maybe in the evening, post you finish your work, or but I understand with Big Fours there is no such specific timing as to when you finish, so that's also a problem. So what
No,
are the
I
times?
think Jan to March will be in our busy season, so evening won't be possible. Morning only we prefer.
So I think we can keep it at 8 p.m. for now then, 8 to 10 p.m. And if we need a little bit more time, then we can start off from 7:30. We'll decide as we move along. Let's first start off for the first 1 2 weeks. Let's see how we move along. And I think if the pace is okay, then it should be fine. But if we need a little bit more time, we can probably start from 7:30 or 7. Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah, I think this month should be fine because it's December. We'll see. Yeah, we'll let you know.
Yeah, 100%. No problem. Yeah, okay. Any other questions for today, or else we meet at the same time tomorrow and we will be starting off with a few other things, professional skills, a little bit on those lines, and then we will start off probably with the first topic. Let's see how we do with that. Yeah. Any other questions?
No, nothing from me.
Okay. All right, guys. Tomorrow morning, same time. We'll be having classes till 10 tomorrow. So come up tomorrow and let's discuss a little bit on the professional skills and then move on to our first topics. Yes. So have a good day, all of you, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Yeah.
Okay, see you. Bye.
Yeah. Bye bye.